Some of our first aid kits, of course, have a cold pack, which can help. The intention is, of course, more for anything that could be an injured bone, things like that. So there's nothing really in a first aid kit specifically for a heat wave, but that is, of course, a recurring risk and concern that we have in the province. So for that, I would say the best thing that someone can do is be trained in first aid, know how to spot the signs of heat stroke, and then connect with any form of medical professional on the best way to take care of that.
I see. And also, and what is it called AED?
Yeah, this is an AED. Good eye. So this is an automatic external defibrillator. So this one here specifically is made by a company called Zoll Medical. This is an extremely popular device. I'll open it up so you can actually see it. So that there is what the device looks like. So this would be used in any sudden cardiac arrest, or if you came across someone that was unconscious, non-responsive, not breathing, and you didn't know what happened. This device will take care of, if it can attempt to restart the heart, it'll deliver the electric shock that can do so. These are extremely safe devices. They're, of course, only to be used in emergencies, but they cannot harm someone who doesn't have the symptoms that it requires to do its job. So these things are very, very foolproof. They're very, very safe, but they're also extremely valuable in the case that you come across someone that does need their heart restarted.
I see. I see. So, would you recommend for people probably living with some elderly people or some people with special need to have one in their household?
Absolutely. It's very, very common now, especially since AEDs are more mainstream. Obviously, up until probably the last 5 years, the devices were expensive, they were hard to get, they were typically only used by medical professionals. But now they're the type of thing that we can just put in our closets, we can take them at home, you can buy them anywhere. But anyone who has a history of a heart condition, anyone who's elderly and maybe just a little bit more at risk of those types of incidents happening, it's a great idea to have them available. Workplaces as well, not just for staff, but you never know who comes into your store that could have an incident. As well, if you're not as close to a hospital, I know a lot of people purchase devices like this so that they have them on their boats. So in the summer, if you're out on the boat and something was to happen, have something like this just to buy you some extra time.
I see. So, is this so is the price decline a little bit?
Yes, compared to where they were when they first got introduced to the world, they've come down. I don't remember the exact pricing, but I know the first devices like this decades ago were in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can pick one up for starting around $1,200, $1,500. So they're definitely getting more accessible. They're definitely much more common. So for most people, expect to spend a couple $1,000s, but definitely worth it in the case of an emergency.
Yeah, as the time goes by, the price just become much more affordable. So.
Yes, yeah. Much easier to have them in our own homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. So, is there anything that you still want to add?
I think this has kind of covered a lot of the essentials for first aid. The only thing I would maybe elaborate on is it's one thing to have the equipment, it's one thing to have what you need in the case of an emergency, and it's another thing to know how to use the equipment. So outside of that, I would always encourage someone, even if it's a basic level of CPR training, feel free to come by, take a course, just get some familiarity with what to do in the case of a sudden emergency, whether it's a cardiac arrest or if someone has an open wound and how to take care of that effectively.
Okay, I see. Okay. Have you ever heard any some kind of incident? So where the people just maybe they got rescued just because of the first aid item.
Yeah, we have lots of students that come to us and they'll be taking a class and they'll say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I took my training 3 years ago because I had to take care, witnessed a vehicle accident. I witnessed a friend of mine that slipped and fell, or something happened to a family member. So we do have lots of students that come back and are very grateful that they had the knowledge of what to do in those emergencies, because it helped them to actually be able to take care of someone. Just yesterday, we witnessed a pedestrian hit by a car right at the intersection of our location, and thankfully a lot of us here are trained in first aid, and I know I was the first one that was called to run out before the ambulances arrived. So just knowing a little bit about first aid, knowing how to do it, take care of someone until paramedics can show up, can still make a big difference.
I see. I'm just a little bit curious, like for the level one. So like it comes with the mask.
Yep.
And so does it also include the sanitizer?
There's no hand sanitizers in there. There is, from a disinfectant perspective, there is saline solution. So it would be just very disinfected water, basically. And it's for cleaning wounds. So if you did come across someone who had an open cut, there was dirt in it, you would wash it out with a saline solution, just to make sure that there's no chance of infection, get the dirt out of there, get anything that could cause that infection out. As well, there's the wipes. So those antiseptic wipes to help wipe out any dirt or anything that could be potentially making that situation worse.
I see. So in general, is there any like any difference like between the pre pandemic and like the post pandemic?
Good question. The main difference that came into the kits during the pandemic was the addition of the face shields and the face masks. So these right here, WorkSafe BC, this is now a part of the regulation that workplaces, if you are a first aid attendant at your workplace, you must have a mask on and you must have a face shield on as well as your gloves. So before the pandemic, you just needed to put gloves on when you were attending to someone that needed assistance. Now they've added in the mask and the face shield. And this is just a precaution, not just for COVID, but in general, if you're coming across anybody at work that may be feeling ill, whether it's a flu, a cold, the objective is just to protect you while you help that person.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, is there like a travel kit for people to bring along?
Yeah, I don't have one here, but we do have a compact first aid kit. It does come in a much smaller pouch than this, probably about half the size, and it has a little clip that can hook onto a backpack, easy enough to tuck inside a suitcase, so if you're hiking, if you're traveling anywhere. So we do have a smaller kit that can go with you. It's a little bit more portable. Again, it'll have very similar items. It'll just have less of those items.
I see. So and also, is it possible like for people to purchase a singular item together their own first aid kit?
Yes, yeah. So we do sell all the items that are in the kits separately. So if someone, as an example, has a first aid kit and they ran out of, their tape before they ran out of anything else, we have the tape that we can help refill that. Or if they ran out of the bandages, the wound closures such as these, we do have the boxes of these. So we can help someone either pack their own first aid kit or simply restock the items that they use.
I see. So is there anything that you still want to add? I remember you want to mention something about is it the mental health? Is it the mental health?
Mental health, yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
Maybe, yeah, you may just like touch on a little bit.
Even if you go through like emergency that's stressful, like just to take care of your mental health.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't mention the one that, when is this is gonna, I'm assuming, go on air like next week kind of thing?
Sometime next week?
Okay, so I won't worry about the course that's happening tomorrow. Okay, yeah. So yeah, mental health, it's a component in a lot of our first aid classes. There are small sections that will cover that. But we do run mental health courses, 1 day and 2 day versions, both of which are very valuable. I mean, coming out of the last 2 years especially, a lot of people have experienced new stress, new trauma. Lives have been changed. The routines that we go through are different. And all of those things take a toll. They cost a lot of energy. And so our mental health courses really look to help people navigate and manage some of the things that life can throw at you. And mental health is something that's very important to me. It's something that I know is very important to members of my family. And we always think of first aid as maybe physical, taking care of a cut or a bruise, but we don't often think about taking care of our brain and how we're thinking and how we're feeling. And so being able to take a mental health first aid course is something that not only can help you if you're dealing with something, but it can also go a long way in terms of helping someone that you might feel is also struggling in their own life, and just being able to be that support system for them. So we do run a lot of classes, both 1-day and 2-day options, and anyone who's curious more about mental health can definitely reach out.
But right now, that there's no a physical item that is for
No, sadly, no. I don't
yeah,
think
of course.
in the world of medicine, I don't think we know quite enough about the brain yet. Of course, there's tons of different things people can do. Everyone finds something that works for them, whether that's going to the gym, whether that's something like yoga. A lot of people, of course, nowadays will meditate and just focus on centering themselves in their breathing. So there are lots of physical things we can do to help take care of our mental health. But sometimes the best thing that we can do is talk about it and make sure that we're comfortable talking about it with other people, and really just creating a space where we know how to talk about it. I think a lot of us, we want to, but we just don't know how. And so that's where the mental health first aid courses can come in.
And also, I actually just came up with this question out of the blue.
Yeah.
But I'm just really curious. Vancouver, right now we have a really severe overdose problem.
Yes.
So is there anything that could help tackle this matter?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are obviously dealing with a crisis, especially around opioids and opioid overdosing. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just drug overdoses that will cause opioid overdoses. It's not illicit drugs, so to speak. A lot of painkillers contain opioids. So if you've just had a surgery, if someone's just in their elderly stages of life and they have arthritis or pains, a lot of those everyday painkillers and prescriptions will have an opioid. So opioid overdoses can happen a lot of the time, even within our own families and people that we know. It's not just in the illicit drug market. A lot of our classes do have training on naloxone, which is the current combatant against opioid overdoses. So knowing how to supply or administer a naloxone injection or a nasal spray can go a long way if you were to ever experience someone in your family that did deal with an overdose or did come across someone who was overdosing. So I would encourage everybody to train themselves in naloxone and how to